The thing about Chelsea is life is never boring. Hey chaps, so welcome back to properchels.tv, your one-stop Chelsea news channel. I'm your host, Logan Blue. Today, we've got some fun. Today we're going to dive into why Chelsea are crap and why Chelsea lost to Manchester City 0-2. Yeah, well, there's not much point going into a deep dive on this match, is there? A, it's the first match of the season. B, Enzo has only really had a couple of weeks on the training ground with the new team, and there's still a bunch of players arriving and a bunch of players leaving because the transfer window is still open and a lot of people are unsure of their position in the squad. And that affects how they play, or if they play. Now, this is interesting because in my match prediction, I had Raheem Sterling starting on the left. Now, I'm not the biggest Raheem Sterling fan. I think he is a player that is a good squad player. And even at his best, say at Manchester City, he got on the end of so many chances because City had so many chances. So I think he's a very good player, and on his day can be unplayable, but his day is further and further apart these days. He's 29, remember? But anyway, 1 hour prior to the kickoff, okay, first match of the season, lo and behold, Raheem Sterling, not only was he not starting, he wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't in the match day squad. And I thought, wow, come on, that's a bit much. Obviously, what has happened is that the manager, Enzo, has been given a little nudge from above, like, we want to get rid of Sterling. We've just bought a winger. We want to get rid of Sterling. Okay? Now, you're not going to get rid of Sterling because he's still got 3 years left on his contract. He's on 315 grand a week, right? He is the highest paid member of the Chelsea squad by far. Okay, and Chelsea would love nothing more than to sell him to Juventus or whoever supposedly was linked to him. But he's not going anywhere. He is absolutely in a position of strength. But 1 hour prior to the match, Sterling's PR company released a statement. Now, let me read you this statement because make of this what you will. Okay, so his PR company said, and I'm quoting here, Raheem Sterling is contracted to Chelsea Football Club for the next 3 years. He returned to England 2 weeks early to conduct individual training and has had a positive pre-season under the new coach, who he has developed a good working relationship with. He is committed, as ever, to delivering at the highest level for Chelsea FC and the fans, who he holds in high regard. And given his inclusion in official club pre-match material this week, our expectation was that Raheem would be involved in this weekend's fixture in some capacity. As a camp, we have always had positive dialogue with and assurances from Chelsea FC in relation to Raheem's future at the club, so we look forward to gaining clarity on the situation. Until then, we will continue to support Raheem's desire to start the new season positively. Now, can you imagine if every player who wasn't in the match day squad released a PR-driven press release 1 hour prior to the match? I'd be reading 15 plus statements, and lo and behold, this would be like a 9-hour video. The ego of the man to go so brutally public 1 hour prior to the match, knowing full well that this is going to get talked about in the media. However, on the flip side of that, you have to understand that the club has just put him in the shop window by not including him in the match day squad, right? He doesn't have to start, of course not. But he's a guy that's won multiple premierships, multiple FA Cups, League Cups, etc., etc., etc. He's scored loads of goals in his time as a professional footballer, and he's on £315,000 a week. So Chelsea have just said, hey, we're open to selling this guy because we don't see him in our plans. However, Raheem Sterling, if you're not in the plans, mate, you're not in the plans. But he's in a position of strength because he's got a 3-year contract and nobody is going to pay £315,000 a week for him, right? Unless, and this is the caveat, unless Chelsea sell him for nothing. We can't sell him for nothing, but unless Chelsea just transfer him without receiving, a single penny, because if they do that, then someone can say, well, I probably would have paid 26 million for him. I'm saving that money. I can put it into his wages. Okay. But Chelsea bought him for, 53 million from Man City, something like that. Goodbye. It certainly seemed a goodbye at the time because we didn't really have any winners in our side. We don't have a lot of them now, to be honest. But £315,000 was the old wage structure. He doesn't fit into the new wage structure. Just like Chelsea got rid of Koulibaly and the like because they were being paid crazy money. Out the door, son. But Sterling's not going to Saudi Arabia, I can't imagine. He's 29. He still thinks he's got some good years in him, but he's in a position of power, so he's not going to get transferred. And Chelsea, as much as they put him in the shop window for these next 2 weeks until the transfer window close, they're not going to get rid of him because no one will buy him and pay wages that he will be willing to accept. Because if you've got 3 years left at 315 grand a week, why would you take a new contract? Why would you be bullied? Right? But he wants to play football. And for the next 2 weeks, I suspect that he's not going to be in the matchday squad. I think that's going to be a really bold and, brutal statement by the club. Okay. I think it's out of Enzo's hands, to be honest. Right. But if they do that and nobody buys him, and they won't, for the reasons I've just explained, then after 2 weeks, lo and behold, he will be reintegrated into the matchday squad and will be at least on the bench because he's too good to be not at least on the bench. Even if he's not a starter, he certainly should be on the bench because, hey, bring him on last 15, 20 minutes to, produce some magic and, great, brilliant, lovely. That's what we need. We need someone to change the game, and run at tired defenders. Sterling can do that. So in a couple of weeks' time, when the window closes, he will still be in the team. I guarantee you of that because no one's buying him and paying the wages he wants. Okay, enough about that, though. Let's just jump into the game. This is going to be very brief because, as I said, there's not a lot of point in doing a deep dive into such a sterile match. Firstly, it was interesting that Enzo didn't set up in the Enzo way, so we weren't playing hospital passes from the back. And also interestingly, Pep didn't have his front three pressing particularly much in the first half. It was in the whole game, really, but certainly in the first half. It was really interesting. It's kind of like the two managers were trying to outfox each other by, thinking you're going to do this, and so I'll do that, and you're going to do that, so I'll do this. That was kind of interesting. But what it basically meant is that Chelsea played in a sort of traditional 4-5-1. Obviously, it's fluid depending on whether we were in attack or we had the ball or we didn't have the ball. But that was pretty much the shape. But ultimately, we had more possession in the first half, and we really never created any chances. City had slightly less possession, ironically, but they created better chances and went ahead through a strike of good luck, a bit of good fortune, because ball went across the box. There was a deflection. It ends up with Haaland, and of course Haaland, being Haaland, he bullies Cucurella and everybody else that was around and scores. Now, is Sanchez at fault for this? I would say that at fault is a bit harsh, but should he have saved that? I believe he should have. I believe a prime Peter Cech or Courtois, who are always the measure of great goalkeepers, would have saved that. I think I think he really should have saved that. But Haaland did brilliantly to score because Haaland is Haaland. Okay. Second half comes along. City start pressing and get more possession and put us on the back foot more. But still, they didn't really threaten too much. They had the better of the game, but we were 1-0 down. So a moment of individual magic could have put us level, and then maybe the last 20 minutes, we have some confidence and we think maybe we can win. But then, lo and behold, our defensive midfielders parted like the Red Sea, with Pepper's Moses. And lo and behold, who marches through but Kovacic, ex-Chelsea player, who goes and the defense backs off, and he's like, oh, well, okay. And they back off some more, and maybe I'll have a shot then. And he never scores, or he hardly ever scores. And so he gives the Sanchez the eye that way, and he shoots to the near post, and Sanchez flaps at it, doesn't save it. And no question, Sanchez should have saved that one, right? 100% Sanchez should have saved that one. It was a good shot. It wasn't a great shot. It didn't particularly dip or swerve or do anything weird in the air. And Sanchez just isn't good enough to stop it. And we're 2-0 down. The game is dead. We lost to a better team. Of course we did. This is the champions of England. But we weren't crushed. We weren't humiliated. All right. So that's the good news. Yeah. But realistically, they didn't have Rodri. They didn't have Foden. They didn't have a bunch of first teamers. Like about 4 first teamers weren't on the pitch when the match started, or at all. And they didn't need to get out of second gear to beat us. Right? Had they needed to, they could have gone through the gears. You just felt at any stage they could go through the gears. But it was a very hot day in London, and they're like, well, yeah, we're going to do enough to win. That's fine. 2-0. Yeah, job done. On the bus, lads. Off we go. So there's not a lot of positives from this match, except that nobody got injured. Wow, that's a great takeaway. And that we kind of looked like a team. We didn't look disjointed. So we kind of looked like a team, played like a team, and had a shape, right? In possession and out of possession. But, yeah, we just weren't very good. And there was absolutely nothing in the final third that made me think, hey, okay, we could get into this game. We could win this. No, right? Jackson was just Jackson. And the main thing from this game for me, and possibly for you, is that had we drawn, I predicted a 2-2 draw, but had we drawn or won, we probably wouldn't have bought a striker. Whereas now, we were so easily beaten by a Man City team in second gear, as I said, that I think it's going to become blatantly obvious that we need to buy a striker. There's only one striker we're after, and you know who I'm talking about, right? But will we get Victor Osimhen or won't we? Probably not, because I think we won't pay his salary, and PSG will wait until the deadline day and then pop up and grab him. Okay, so I suspect we won't end up with a striker, and it'll be Jackson and Gui, okay, as our number 9s for the season, or at least until January. So yeah, not a lot of takeoff, not a lot to take away from this game because ultimately we were just beaten by a better team, and we were mediocre for most of the game. A lot of sideways and backwards passing, no real incision in the final third. Right, so just write it off. It's the first game of the season. Moving on. The next team, the next team, the next team, the next team, they're not going to be Man City standard. So we will have a much better chance of getting up a bit of a head of steam and getting some points on the board. And I do believe we will get points on the board. I'm not like all doom and gloom by any stretch of the imagination. And even if we don't get a striker, I still think we're going to do very well this season. Not as well as we want, obviously, but I think we're going to do very well this season and we'll surprise a lot of people. And my prediction, if we get Osman, I think we're getting Felix anyway, but if we get Osman, my prediction is that we're going to finish third. And I know nobody's predicting us to get in the top four or hardly anybody. But I believe that we will absolutely have a really good end to the season. And like we did last season. And so long as up until Christmas, our form is pretty good. In other words, if we're there or thereabouts, seventh, sixth, fifth, fourth, somewhere in that vicinity, I think the last half of the season will, or certainly post Christmas, will be us going at a full tilt at getting into the top four and solidifying that top four position. But again, a lot of ifs and buts in that. As I said, we haven't got Osman. We probably won't get Osman, and so maybe sixth or seventh is the best we'll be able to get with the current squad as is. So, all right, brilliant. That's all the news that's fit to print, and quite a bit that isn't. Thank you again for watching. As always, God bless. Look after yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.